So I want to make a quick video tonight to talk a little about how to containerize your Node.js application. So if you're not familiar with the concept of containers and Docker, it's a technology that lets you kind of wrap up your application inside of its own container that can then be deployed onto servers, but essentially inside of its own isolated containers. In other words, you don't have to worry about your application sharing resources, specifically like sharing memory and other dependencies like that. It's essentially what it's doing is it's taking your application and kind of bundling it up into like a small little Linux C group. And so to kind of demonstrate what this looks like, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And if we look over here, I have a post I've done on how to containerize your Node app, but also how to containerize your app as a Distroless app. So the first thing we have to do is we have to write a Node.js application. So if we look at this, this is kind of like the simplest server that you can write with Node.js. So all we're doing here is we're importing the HTTP module, and then we're creating a server. And now that we've created the server, we're telling it that we want to have a status code of 200, which is successful. And then we're going to write out hello world. So if I just go ahead and run this right now, come back to my browser, come to localhost 3000, and we can see that this is running. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and kill this, and what I want to go ahead and do is create a container for this. So let me go ahead and clear my screen here, and what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take a look here at my at these different files that I have here inside of my project. And so one of the files you'll see here is a Docker file. And the Docker file essentially is a way that you can kind of describe what you want your container to look like. And so if we look at this Docker file right now, it's actually quite simple. What I'm doing is I'm pulling in the official Node.js image, but specifically for version 20. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating a new directory called source, or SRC. And then I'm copying in the package.context into the SRC, setting it as a working directory, and then I'm copying in all the rest of my source inside of here. And then I'm giving the command of node index.js, which is the same command that I'm running for my package.json for starting the file. So that's all well and good. So let's see what we have to do in order to build a container for this. So the first thing we have to do is make sure that we have Docker installed. And so what I have here is I have the actual docker.com launch page. And you can see right here, if you just go to Docker, it'll give you the option here of downloading Docker either for your specific machine or for another machine. I already have it installed. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is take this directory that I'm in already. Let me change the background here so it's a little bit easier to read. All right. So now that I've done this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in, actually, let's just test to make sure that Docker's working. So what I'm doing right here is I'm telling it that I want to run hello world. And I have a -it in there, which basically means interactive terminal. So I'll run that. It's pulling down the latest layers, and then it just came back and let me know, hello from Docker. This Docker image is running and it's successful. So now I've done that, what I'm going to go ahead and do is take the existing Node application that I have right now, and I'm going to create a image for that. So in order to do that, all you have to do is type in Docker image. I'm going to give it a tag. I'm going to call this my Node app, and I'm going to use period for just to include everything that's in this directory. So I'll go ahead and hit that, and looks like I got an image. Oh, I typed in the wrong command. I apologize. I typed in Docker image instead of Docker build. So we're going to say Docker build, and I'm going to give it a tag name of my Node app, and period to include the root level. Look for the Docker file. So go ahead and hit that, and it just went ahead and it created an image here. So now if I come over here and I say Docker images. Oops, got to spell Docker correctly. There we go. And you can see I actually have quite a few images here, but if I scroll up to the top here, we see I have my Node app, and we can see here that it has an ID. I just gave it a tag of latest, and has a size of 1.1 gigabytes. So that's actually kind of big, and it's actually preferable to try to keep your images as small as possible. But there's another issue here that we need to be aware of. So one of the commands I can run here is called Docker Scout. So I'm going to say Docker Scout Quick View, and I want to point it to my Node app here and see what happens. So what it's doing here is it's evaluating the image I just created, and I can see here that it did pull from the base image here of Node 20. It also sees that there's an updated base image here, but if we look at this is showing all the different CVEs. So what is a CVE? A CVE is a common vulnerability or exposure, sometimes an exposure. And basically what it means is that there's known security issues with some of the libraries that are in your image. So even though Node.js doesn't necessarily have any common vulnerabilities, at least not that I know of, what this tool right here is doing is it's telling me that there are some known vulnerabilities. So another issue is on top of the size, there's also known vulnerabilities in the image. So another thing that I can do here is I can actually run gripe. And gripe is another utility that will actually look through, your Node containers and let you know, or your Node images specifically, and let you know if there's any issues. So I'm going to say my Node app latest, run this, and now what's doing is it's checking this this image against the vulnerability database. It's loading up the image. We'll let it go here. It's coming through, and whoa, wow, there's a lot of CVs in there. Some of them are high, some are low, some are negligible, but it's obviously something that we would not want to go to production with if we can avoid. So with that, I want to go ahead and mention my sponsor. So the sponsor of tonight's video is actually a product called Chainguard. So what is Chainguard? Chainguard is essentially it's a, think of it as a platform of having secure containers that you can build your applications on top of. And so if we come over here and look at Chainguard images, we can see here eliminate your CFEs, and I can look for a specific image, and I'm just going to type in Node, and we can see here that it has a bunch of different Node images. So what I want to go ahead and do is I want to create a new image that we can use to run the application from using Chainguard instead of the base Node.js image. So if we come back here and we take a look at my example here, I also have this file here that I've called Dockerfile Distroless. And what I've done here is instead of pulling from the Node image, I'm actually pulling from this cgr.dev/chainguard/node and then the latest tag. And so I'm doing some similar things here. Instead of creating a source directory, I'm basically setting the working directory as app. And then I'm doing a chown on a copy. I'm copying over the package.json, the index file like I was before, into now the working directory. And then I'm issuing a command to run index. All right, so this is a little bit different. So let's come back here, and now I want to do another build. So this time I'm going to say Docker build, but I'm going to say -f, and this time I'm going to say Dockerfile -Distroless. All right, we're going to give this a tag, and the tag we're going to call this my Node app-cg, and we also want to build from the latest here. So I'm going to hit that. It's building a new image. Now I'm going to say Docker images, scroll up to the top here, and I can see now we have this new repository CG, but look at this. Now it's only 121 megabytes in size, much better. So what I want to do now is I am going to run Docker Scout again. So we'll do Docker Scout Quick View, and this time We're going to say my node app CG, and it's running this. And this time it doesn't find any CVEs. So now what I'm going to do is run gripe again. But this time I'm going to do it on my node app -cg latest. It's running the database and no CVEs. So this is a lot better. So now not only is my image a lot smaller, but I don't have any known CVEs as well. So let's go ahead and run this. So if we want to run this, all I have to do is say docker run. I'm going to say p so I can set the port and send the port to 3000. I'm going to say -it and we'll say my node app -cg, and let's try to run that. Okay, so now it says the server is running. I'm going to come back to my browser here, come back to 3000, run that again, and it looks like that's running. So that is essentially all we have to do in order to run this as a slimmed down, more secure serverless, or not serverless, but distroless type of solution. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, you can give a thumbs down, but I prefer a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more content like this, please subscribe to my channel. With that, have a nice night.